Hey there, this is Derek from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan, and today we are looking at Nissan Skyline GTR. This one comes in the somewhat rarer color of white, which wasn't available for the first few models. RB26 twin turbo engine. Now this puts out 280 horsepower officially. It's probably a little bit more than that. This one has aftermarket computer tune and some other things. I'll come back to that in a sec, but I'm going to switch the engine off because it's really loud. I don't want to annoy people with a loud exhaust. If you want to hear the real volume of that, turn your speakers up to the too loud point on your headphones. Switch this off. Turbo timer. Let's just press that to turn the turbo timer off. Comes with the GTR key. Yeah. Okay, so just put the keys here. This is a post-purchase inspection video. This was bought from auction here in Japan, and we will export this to the USA. And it's a really good one. It's the car was bought from auction. The auction inspection sheet shows a couple of areas of damage, which would be a little bit worrisome, but having seen the car in person, I'm quite happy with it. Especially the engine. You really can't tell through a video, but the feeling of the GTR engines can be good or bad, and this is a good one. And you don't know until after you buy it and you actually feel it. I feel like some of it comes down to this one having an aftermarket tune and them just making it a little bit more smooth and responsive. But also I find that coil packs make a big difference on these RB26s, at least in my experience. This one has 147,000 kilometers, which is about medium mileage. Timing belt was changed at 88,000 kilometers in 2008. 6 throttle bodies. It's pretty crazy. Usually a car will have one throttle body unless it's a race car or a sport, like a high-end sports car like an M3 or an AE 111. But one throttle body per cylinder gives it a very unique feeling when you're driving it. Okay, now there's no rust here. This is like a tiny bit of surface rust that comes from the fact that like this little piece here can touch onto here and then it can wear away the paint. Usually these strut towers will rust pretty badly. This one's not so bad. Has a strut tower brace on it, aftermarket air filters there. Coolant is good, oil is good, runs a tiny little battery with tiny little posts. I'm not sure if they have those in other countries, but in Canada we only have larger posts than these, so you have to get a conversion for the posts. Aftermarket suspension on it, aftermarket front mount intercooler. Has a dent in it from like a rock or something. And yeah, we are in Japan, so it's an authentic Japanese plate that's on it. Unfortunately, we can't ship the cars with those plates unless we want to file a police report stating that the plate was stolen. Which, before you ask, is something we don't do. Hood's made out of aluminum, which is very cool. Has almost the full Nismo kit, which is nice and special. It's the Nismo front bumper, Nismo hood lip, no Nismo side skirts, but the Nismo under spoiler there. And yeah, the white color is nice. Almost all of them are gunmetal gray, and then there's some black, blue, red, silver, and then the white. White's not the rarest, but they didn't sell them for like 89, 90, 91. I think 92 was maybe the first year, or 93, I'm not sure. I will come back to the auction inspection sheet in just a second, but I'm going to do a once around of the car so you can see from all angles. 93, 147,000 kilometers on it. 10-inch wide by 18-inch RPF 1 wheels are kind of the perfect wheel for the car. They are a little bit of a low offset, which means they're being spaced out really far. But luckily the fenders haven't been rolled. But it means you'll have to run a really strong suspension so that you don't rub. And there are some marks on the front tires of it rubbing. Those, by the way, are 265 all the way around, which is a lot of rubber for a Skyline of any type, but a Skyline GTR, that's a lot of rubber for a street-driven one. The body looks really good. This one's had some restorations done to it. The back quarters, the side sills have both been what the seller calls restored. And I got a bush here, so pardon me. I think it was done because of rust. The GTRs rust pretty badly. And now they're 30 years old. Pretty much all of them have had some encounter with rust throughout their life. but it looks good. The repairs look like they've been done properly. There's barely any rust on it. I'll go ahead and translate this real quick, and there's a lot of notes on here. Just keep in mind, this is the information that's given from the auction before you purchase the vehicle. So let me go through this. It's a 93 Skyline GTR, 4-wheel drive, of course. That's rear-wheel drive until it loses grip, then it goes to 4-wheel drive. Auction grade 3.5 with an interior C and an exterior D. I think both of these need to go one level up. I think the interior should be maybe a B, exterior should be a C. 148 to 280 kilometers, 5-speed manual transmission, automatic AC, NK RPF 18-inch wheels. Now it says front wheel bearings and front drive shafts have been replaced. Purchased from user like a trade-in. Trust aftermarket air cleaners. R32 airflow meter with Power FC computer and Power FC commander, so you can alter the tune on the go if you want. I don't really have experience, so I don't know how that works. Nismo clutch. It's an easy Nismo clutch, which I love. A hard clutch in a GTR takes away a lot of the fun of driving one of them. And the stock one is fairly stiff as well. Trust intercooler Blitz exhaust, apex adjustable suspension, and it says both side sill and quarter panel restoration has been done. Okay, now paint matches well. There aren't any real dents or anything on the body except for on the hood. Oddly, there are 3 dents on the hood. I don't know if you can see them. It's 1, 2, 3. So there is that. But that's kind of as bad as it gets. Paint looks good, body looks good, nice and glossy. Except for the door mirrors, they're faded for some reason. Not for some reason. Door mirrors always fade. Door mirrors and spoilers are made out of plastic. That'll fade faster than metal. Okay, so report here says rear quarter house intersection has slight rust. Yes, it is very small. It doesn't look concerning to me. Core support dented. Seat stained and small cigarette burn. Interior liner has cigarette burns. Interior dirty. Pillar section screw holes. They actually have extra gauges mounted on the pillar there, so they've been screwed in. Side mirror has paint fade, as I said. Pillar section has paint work done to it. Underside surface rust, scratches and dents. Bumper underside scratched. Exterior small scratches. AC doesn't work. It actually does, it's just not that cold. I would think that cleaning out a condenser might help with that. Engine oil leak is not dripping down, and then various aftermarket parts. Looking here, you can see replaced sills, replaced back fenders, and a replaced trunk. It doesn't say anything about an accident damage, but it did say the core support is dented. And then if you replace these pieces, you wouldn't actually be able to see any of the area that would have been accident damage because it's been replaced. So I'm not really sure exactly how that works, but I mean, if something like that would have concerned you, you wouldn't have bid on one having read all of that anyway. And then U3, I already showed you that. An X here on the marker. I think maybe they're talking about this. Micro cracks in there. X means crack. Okay, so let's do once around and then I'll show some of the details of the damage. Okay, so cars really aren't designed like this anymore, this low to the ground and this long and wide compared to the height. Cars nowadays have to be safer. I would argue that a car like this, if you don't get into an accident, is quite safe. These are small cars and they handle very well. As long as you're not driving like a hooligan all of the time, you'll probably be pretty safe in something like this. I always used to think that like if you drive something like that, you can't get out of the way of accidents very well. And a lot of cars come out of the factory with very terrible handling. This one this was engineered in the mid-80s and was so far ahead of its time that I prefer driving something like this more than driving most modern cars. The chassis isn't as stiff, and that's noticeable if you've driven a lot of cars or have a race car with a roll cage in it. But it feels very responsive and nice, and has a good it feels like you're in control of the car, and it's like helping you to drive, instead of a new car, which feels like you turn the steering wheel and then you go in that direction. Yeah, I think a lot of people have already talked about that in more detail and better than I can. This part here is coming up. Looks like they tried to replace it with some sort of a glue at one part, but every time you close the door, you're moving it. The top seals here often become separated from, like they'll peel down like that. This one's fine. The under spoiler is very cool. I quite like that. But there are some cracks in the paint on both of the mount pieces. One there and one over here. Look at this, Kenwood speakers. Now these are blown, but it's component speakers. 1, 2, 3 separate speakers in each one. It's kind of a cool thing. There's also a sub in the in the back, like a 12-inch sub, which is really weird for this type of car, especially in Japan. Like when I was getting into cars, everybody wanted big speakers in their cars, and in Japan that really wasn't the thing. Everybody wanted sticky tires so that they could show up everyone at the racetrack. Because unlike a lot of countries, it's really easy to go to a racetrack here in Japan and drive a car, because there are more racetracks, they're cheaper, they're closer to you probably. Door handle is peeling there. What is there to say about the condition before I get to the interior? The front bumper lip has been repainted. It's not supposed to be black, it's supposed to be like a unpainted gray. And then it has a lot of paint cracks in it because of bottoming out. So a full lip take off and repaint. Hood has a number of rock chips in it. One here, 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 and here. Okay, there's a little bit of not lining up with the fender. It's very minor. Like right here you can see it's closer together here than it is over here. Very minor, like I said. And the headlight too. It's a little bit separated from the bumper more than you would typically get right there. Okay, if you go down the sides, you can see it's nice and clean. There's no rust inside the doors. Okay. Dashboard is barely warped. You can see some up there. If you know the GTRs, you'll know they warp badly there, and especially here. There's a small amount of warpage there, and all of the vents are still there. These things break really easily when the dashboard warps. It crushes them. Still has the original seats. Cool previous owner, didn't roll the fenders. Did I already mention that? Don't roll the fenders on a GTR. You can do it on any other car, but if it's something that's going to be valuable because of what it is, you're ruining it. It's very difficult to put those fenders back into position. And by rolled fenders, what I mean is you get more clearance if you pinch this piece up, pull that up, and then it gives you more clearance for running tires like this that are extra wide. And look at how much that tire comes out. Definitely the average person would have rolled the fenders there, so thank you for not doing that. Cigarette burns in the door card, minor. Okay. Aftermarket steering wheel. It's actually really nice. It's thicker than your stock one. Makes you feel a little bit more muscular when you're using it. Boost gauge here. And what is this? Temperature of something, but I don't know. Probably water temperature is more common than oil temperature. Or exhaust temperature. It's almost certainly not that. Seat. So some pilling in here and some sagginess here. And I guess you could consider that a rip. Cigarette burn in the seat. There's this. And these are very minor. And these are wonderful seats. If you get a chance to put these into your Nissan of any kind, go and do it. And then apologize for using up GTR seats. But very, very good seats for a stock seat. Okay, back seats look fine. Front seats are barely faded. Seat fade is a common thing on these cars. It's not an original floor mat. I don't think. I could be wrong about that. This is a later model because on the early model these are just a gloss black. Aftermarket stereo here. Mystery switch. AC has been moved. Typically the AC is up here and the ashtray is down here. There's no ashtray in here. And the interior doesn't smell like cigarettes. This is nice and tight, which is good. These are worn out. Okay. This is a boost controller there. No, boost controller there and a turbo timer there. Okay, headliner's nice and clean. After 30 years, it's like, or 25 to 30 years, there's a lot that can go wrong with a car. And the fact that this one, many of those wrong things aren't in it, is really good. And with something like this, although the price has gone up, you're never going to have depreciation in the price anymore. It's just going to continue going up as long as the condition is good. Okay, so there we have it, Skyline GTR. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, post those into the questions and comments section. If you're the owner of this car, send us an email instead, and then we'll be able to help you with that. So thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.